Okay, we're going to get started now. Thanks, y'all, for joining us. Thanks for dialing into this week's installment of Tune In Tuesday. For those of you tuning in for the first time, these are just 15-minute health-oriented calls led by industry specialists like myself. Our goal is to give you more information or tools surrounding multiple ideas of health and how you can use them within your own lives. You can type any questions or comments that you have in the chat box at any point, and today's focus will be on nutrition and heart health in light of Heart Health Month. Okay, my name is Olivia. I am a registered dietitian with Good Measure Meals. And again, today we are going to be talking about how nutrition affects our heart health. And let's get started. So there are a lot of factors, obviously, that affect our health and specifically our heart health overall. And nutrition is one of them. And most of you probably know that what we eat can help us better prevent nutrition-related chronic illnesses. And contrary to popular belief, nutrition doesn't have to be complicated at all. And that's exactly what we're going to show you today. So before we get started, of course, we have to have a slide about knowing your numbers. You may recognize these. These are lab values that you may get done at the doctor's office. Please understand that these numbers and recommendations may vary based on your age and your gender and your lifestyle. These are just kind of general recommendations for most people. So of course, we want to start with LDL cholesterol. This is known as the bad cholesterol. We want to keep this low. It actually can increase our risk for heart disease and stroke if it is high. We also have our HDL cholesterol, which is the good cholesterol. It is heart protective, and we want this to be high. Like I said, we want it to be greater than 60 milligrams per deciliter. And then many of you are probably aware of what blood pressure is, but when you have high blood pressure, you actually increase your risk for heart disease and stroke. We want it to be less than 120 over 80. And then LDL, some other information about that. It can be increased with consumption of saturated and trans fat. So saturated fats, think animal products basically, so fatty beef, butter. Trans fat is actually a synthetic fat. We make it kind of in a lab. So you can find it sometimes in animal products, but most of the time it is synthetic, but it's found kind of in pie crust, fry foods, cookies and crackers. We want to avoid trans fat. And then your HDL can actually decrease your LDL. So your HDL can decrease your bad cholesterol, and it can be increased with the consumption of unsaturated fats. So think nuts, seeds, salmon, olive oil, avocados. You'll notice that most of those that I just listed are plants. So that's kind of going to be a theme throughout this presentation. So first, we're going to give you these top 5 foods for heart health. And the first one we're going to go over are nuts and seeds. Very delicious snack. You can eat them in a variety of ways, but nuts and seeds provide lots of unsaturated or healthy fat, and they also have fiber, which is really great for our hearts. It keeps your heart healthy by lowering that bad cholesterol, and it also contains magnesium, which is a mineral involved in heart contraction and blood pressure regulation. And how can you enjoy nuts and seeds? There are plenty of ways. You can do it for breakfast, for lunch, for dinner, snacks. For example, you could top your yogurt bowl with some chopped nuts of any kind. You can mix in nut butters if you want to do that, almond butter, peanut butter, cashew butter. You can make your own trail mix, which is a really great way to incorporate more nuts and seeds into your diet. You can also add things like chia seeds or ground flax seeds into baked goods, oatmeals, or smoothies. Oats. Oats are really awesome for heart health because they are really high in fiber. And they are actually especially high in a type of soluble fiber called beta-glucan, which is associated with lower bad cholesterol and lower risk for heart attack and stroke. And like all other whole grains, oats, like I said, has a high fiber content. So mostly all whole grains are really great for heart health. We're just highlighting oats right now. Whenever I talk about oatmeal as a great breakfast option, I often hear, oh, but oatmeal doesn't keep me full. Well, the key to making satisfying oatmeal is really all about the toppings and the mix-ins. So you first want to start off with cooking your oats in milk or another, whether it's dairy milk or a plant-based milk with some sort of protein in it. The protein is really going to help keep you fuller longer. And it's going to be more satisfying. It's going to keep your hunger levels at bay, and it's going to help balance your blood sugar. You can also mix in some nut butters. You can also top with chopped nuts if you like that to have some sort of crunch, and then top with some of your favorite fresh fruit. So if you're not an oatmeal fan, do not make it with water. Don't just do the regular instant oats. Get creative with your oatmeal, and I promise it will taste much more delicious and it will actually be more satisfying overall. You can also, you probably know this, but you can also grind up oats and things like that to use as a flour in replace of white flour for a lot of baked goods, increase that fiber content. And then you can also make your own granola with oats, which is a really easy way to get those in your diet. You can top that onto yogurt, include in some cereal or things like that. Beans and legumes. So beans and legumes, I think, are the most underrated foods out there. They are so inexpensive, and they are a plant-based protein with 0 grams of saturated fat, also an excellent source of fiber, magnesium, potassium, and other nutrients. They also, like I said, have a protein. They're made of protein, so they're a really great component to add to your diet to substitute some of those animal proteins. So they are inexpensive. And if you've heard before that, oh, you can't eat, canned beans, that's totally not true. You absolutely can eat canned beans. They're very inexpensive, but they're also quicker, right, than making dry beans. So what you want to do when you're getting canned beans is to just simply rinse them in a colander. You can reduce the sodium content by up to 40% by doing this. And it's a really easy way to incorporate more beans into your diet. So how can you enjoy beans? One of our favorite snacks around our office is crunchy chickpeas. And you probably have seen these around in the grocery stores. They're kind of expensive, but when you make them on your own, they're really inexpensive and really delicious. So you can roast chickpeas in the oven with some olive oil, herbs, and spices. You can have that as a crunchy snack. You can top them onto your salads or soups. You can use beans in chili. It's a really good way to increase the fiber content there. And then you can also do some sort of meatless Mexican style meal, or really any type of cuisine that you're looking for, but combining some sort of beans, corn, some sort of carbohydrate like brown rice, and you can have a nice meal together like that. Fatty fish. Fatty fish is really awesome to have in our diets. It's a great protein source. It's low in saturated fat, which is that fat that's not as great for our hearts. And it's high in anti-inflammatory omega-3s, which most Americans are not getting enough of. So if you can shoot to get about 2 servings worth of fatty fish per week, that's excellent. Some examples are salmon, mackerel, herring, trout, sardines, and tuna. And you can absolutely do the canned varieties of these as well. So it does not have to be just fillets of these fish. However, you can kind of incorporate them into your diet is what's going to be beneficial. So of course you can bake or grill your fish with some veggies and potatoes for a simple balanced dinner. You can do one of my favorite ways to enjoy fish, which is to have it in sushi form. So you can have it raw. You can, again, use that canned tuna or salmon to have as a wrap for an easy protein-packed lunch. Fruits and vegetables. So fruits and vegetables are awesome, and most Americans could stand to consume a little bit more of them. They are high in potassium, which is particularly beneficial for our hearts. And bananas, potatoes, melons, oranges, spinach, and broccoli top the list for highest in potassium. Potassium helps reduce blood pressure and is essential for heart contraction. So tons of ways to enjoy fresh fruits and veggies. Obviously, you can have it, you can use them as dippers for a Greek yogurt dip. You could make your own type of ranch, or you could do like a sweet version with honey and lime. You could always throw in frozen fruits and vegetables into a smoothie, which is awesome. I always recommend having frozen fruits and veggies in your freezer just because they actually are picked at the peak of ripeness. So sometimes they have just as much nutrition as the stuff you see out on the shelves in the fresh produce aisle, sometimes more. So always have some sort of frozen fruits and veggies to complete your meal. You can also, of course, roast potatoes, whether it's white or sweet potatoes, with a little bit of olive oil. And another really fun way to eat fruits and veggies, particularly bananas, is to actually freeze them and then put them in a food processor or blender. And they actually, it turns into kind of what we call nice cream, similar to ice cream, not exactly the same, but a little bit of a healthier alternative. Okay, so the takeaway from today is pretty simple. What we want you to know, focus on plants. And I don't mean this to say you have to be vegan to be healthy. I think that most people can incorporate more plants into their diet. So fruits, vegetables, whole grains, beans, and legumes, all of those things are plants, and they have lots of fiber, antioxidants, and those fruits and veggies have that potassium, which is heart healthy. The more colors, the better. So that's called nutrient diversity. So the more colors you have on the plate, the more nutrition you're getting. Choosing healthy fats over saturated fats or unhealthy fats most of the time. So choosing to use olive oil in place of butter when you're cooking and things like that. Consume less processed foods. This overall is really beneficial for our health, but particularly for heart health because you will most likely be consuming less sodium and probably saturated fat, which is that unhealthy fat. And then, of course, last but not least, enjoy your food. So you want to minimize stress around food choices and really enjoy what you eat, because if you have stress associated with your food choices, you are producing cortisol, and that is not good either. So you want to make sure that you do have a healthy, balanced diet, but you don't get too obsessive about it to the point where it's unhealthy for you. So a little bit about Good Measure Meals, the organization that I work for. We are Atlanta-based. We actually only service Metro Atlanta, but we are a meal prep service. All of the meals come fully cooked to your door. They are nutritionally balanced by our team of culinary dietitians, and they definitely support customers in their heart health because they are low in saturated fat. We only use fiber-rich carbohydrates, and most of the fats that we do use are those unsaturated or those heart healthy fats. We have several meal plan options. We have a general healthy selection. We have a vegetarian meal plan. We have a diabetic friendly. And then we also have our fuel meal plan, which is a little bit higher in calories and protein. It's meant more for like an endurance athlete. So lots of options for everyone. Okay. I think I am finished with my little 15-minute presentation. If anybody does have questions, feel free to ask. This was meant to be very easy to understand and to give you some tips of how to incorporate more heart-healthy foods into your diet ASAP. So I hope that was helpful. Thank you.